Just where we go and help us to be wise in times when we don't know. Let this be our prayer. We lose our way. Lead us to a place, guide us with your grace, to a place where we'll be safe.
La luce che tu dai
Pray you find your
nel
light
cuore resterà
and hold it in our
a
heart.
ricordarci che
When stars go out each night,
nella nella mia preghiera
let this be our
quanta felice
when shadows fill our day.
lead us to a place
Need to find your grace. Keep us safe so we'll be
sognare un mondo senza più violenza, un mondo di giustizia e di speranza, ognuno nella sua regina, simbolo di pace, di fraternità. La donna che ci dà
We ask that life be kind.
è il desiderio che
Watch us from above.
ognuno troviamo.
We hope it's so we'll find.
Noi dentro che lo
And let us so do.
Let this be our prayer,
Let this be our prayer.
just like every child.
Just like every child.
Need to find a place, guide us with your grace,
Give us faith so we'll be safe.
nella felice hai accesso in noi. Senta che ci
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your program director, Alec Mutlani.
Thank you, and welcome to the Conscious Company Awards 2024. It is a privilege to be with you this evening, to once again celebrate a new chapter of the kind of leadership the world yearns for. Thank you to the amazing Pamina Bora and the singing surgeon for a sensational performance. And thank you to you, the Conscious Companies ecosystem, family, friends, and this unique group of business stalwarts who take a stand for conscious leadership. Thank you for being with us in attendance and to those joining us via YouTube. And now, to open the proceedings for tonight, please welcome the chairman of the Conscious Leadership Academy and partner of Juden Combrick, Michael Juden.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great pleasure to be with you this evening. A very, very special warm greeting to Professor Mervyn King, his charming and always beautiful wife, Liz. To Dr. Mohajani, who came all the way from India, especially for the awards. To Krishna Kumar, Madhu Rajagopal, I hope I got that right, the finalists, Conscious Companies members, partners, and those who are an integral part of the conscious leadership ecosystem. So as has become our usual start to Conscious Company Awards evenings, I, in a moment, am going to ask all of you to be upstanding for a moment. I'm going to ask you to gently hug, not grope, the person on either side of you and thank them for sharing the ecosystem with you. Wish them an enjoyable and a very pleasant evening. And I'm going to ask the men to apologize in advance for their bad manners this evening, so that you don't need to do it after the dinner. Will everybody please be upstanding? Donovan, I want to apologize to the person who had to hug you. What qualities does a conscious leader possess? According to an outstanding book, I'm sure many of you have read it, John Mackay's Whole Food Market co-founder and Raj Sisodia, the Conscious Capitalism co-founder, in their Wall Street Journal best-selling book, Conscious Capitalism. In addition to high analytical intelligence as measured by IQ tests, conscious leaders also have high levels of emotional intelligence, spiritual intelligence, and systems intelligence. In this powerful book, they argue for the inherent good of both business and capitalism, and illustrate how these two forces can and do work most powerfully to create value for all stakeholders. And they demonstrate that we buy the products and use the services of companies and organizations that use four specific tenets: higher purpose, stakeholder integration, conscious leadership, and conscious culture and management. They build strong businesses and help advance capitalism further towards realizing its highest potential. For those not yet convinced, I'm going to remind you of the famous words of Henry Wordsworth Longfellow. It takes less time to do a thing right than to explain why you did it wrong. Unlike Mervyn, who can fly around the world 3 days, come back and fly around again the world for another 3 days, I've just landed from San Diego. It's 9 hours behind for me. But I want to share with you something that I learned in San Diego. I was at the American Bar Association committee meeting, and one of the things which was being discussed was artificial intelligence and its use. One of the things which has been very interesting over the years is that in many powerful speeches and presentations, speakers have been seen to utter words which the lip readers have been unable to translate and which people haven't understood. And one of the speeches was that after Neil Armstrong landed on the moon and made the famous statement of one small step for mankind, one for man and one great leap for mankind, he uttered some other words. AI has now interpreted those words. And those words were, "Have a great evening, Mr. Goldberg." When approached, he explained it as follows. As a young boy, he was fascinated by the moon. And every night after his parents went to sleep, he used to climb up on the roof of the brownstone to watch the moon. But also so happened that next to where he stood was the bedroom where Mr. and Mrs. Goldberg lived, and he used to peek in and enjoy watching them have sex. And every night he heard this plaintive plea from Mr. Goldberg to Mrs. Goldberg for oral sex. And Mrs. Goldberg's response always was, "I promise you one day when a man walks on the moon." I wish you all a great evening.
Thank you, Michael. Michael did mention that all the gentlemen should apologize. So I'm apologizing right now. And ladies, I will be at the back, ready for the hug at the end of the evening. Speaking to previous recipients of the Conscious Companies Awards, they all share a common story of transformation as a business leader once stepping on the path of consciousness. Here to share with us is the winner of the Conscious Companies Awards 2023, Lubin Oxur.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Great to be back here, and what really wonderful memories from this time last year. First, as I start, to all finalists in both categories this evening, congratulations on your achievements. In the build-up to this evening, I had the chance to read about each of you, and it is truly amazing that we have so many leaders of such caliber making a difference in this beautiful country. I hope that this process and this event will be a catalyst for you, as it was for me to further take on the journey to conscious leadership. My definition of consciousness and why consciousness is important for me has changed over the last 12 months, and I think will continue to evolve as I learn and reflect on this journey. It really is a case of the more you learn, the more you realize there's a lot more to learn, to grow. And I think on that there's a great quote from Lloyd Alexander. We learn more by looking for the answer to a question and not finding it than we do from learning the answer itself. End quote. So as I reflect on the last 12 months, let me start by sharing what the last year has meant to me on a personal front. We are all on a journey. Sometimes on that journey, there are some events that catapult us forward. For me, being part of this event in 2023 was really such an occasion. And I'm not talking about the winning of this great award, but really just being part of it. I've heard many times prior of the positive impact that you can gain when you surround yourself with like-minded people. And throughout my life, I had searched for it, and at times thought I had surrounded myself well, but never really felt that true sense of full belonging. From the time I walked into this event last year, I can truly say that I felt a level of calmness, of positive energy, of excitement, of belonging that I had not felt before. And I clearly remember sharing that with my wife, Candace, during the event. When I look back, and during my reflection for writing the speech, it is this sense of belonging, of finding oneself, of being my authentic self, that has really driven me to drive further into consciousness. My curiosity in the subject has taken a new life, and I have been open to new learnings, philosophies, discoveries, reflections. A wonderful journey. As with any new addiction, it required some adjustments, significant adjustments in terms of balance, understanding what is important, and being willing to make some sacrifices, not only for myself, but also those around me. Although I almost expected the personal part of the journey, what I really did not foresee is the alignment that it had with my professional journey, especially that of the growth and willingness of the people around me in my company. Winning this award brought attention to conscious leadership in my organization, and with that it started to create more awareness about my personal leadership attributes. Although the teams were fairly clear about my leadership, this award created a label and became really a catalyst, something to buy into and to aspire to for them. When I first won the award, I would often be asked by team members, what is conscious leadership? How does it fit with our leadership model at Sumitomo? There was a natural curiosity that was born, that was created, and it built its own momentum. How wonderful is that? The other great impact it had is that the organization took a lot of pride in being associated as a conscious company and became committed to living up to its own expectation that it put on it. This definitely made my role as a CEO a lot easier. I have been surprised over and over during the last 12 months at how responsive the leaders have been when I have pushed them out of their comfort zone and asked them to embrace new thoughts, ways of thinking. This has encouraged me to share with them my personal reflections and journey. Again, amazed. I've been amazed with how the team have reacted and have embraced the different reflections. Together, we have been able to take personal reflections sometimes some deeply personal reflections and learnings, and apply them to business contexts to help us try and make sense of some of the complex situations we faced. And the results have been really amazing in terms of dealing with some really complex issues. This has not only helped us to get much needed clarity in certain situations, but what I've also found is that the hunger for innovative thinking and solutions in the business is increasing as a result. We are not yet delivering the innovation that we seek, but I believe that it is a matter of time. What I've also found is an increasing willingness of team members to make decisions, knowing that these will result in potential short-term pain, but that they will bring long-term sustainability to our business. This was not as much the case in the past, especially with young leaders that were desperate to show quick wins and wanting to prove themselves. I put this down to the work that team members have put in applying themselves in the decision-making process and letting themselves be driven by their intellect. We have unfortunately not yet been able to reach this at all levels of the business, and it will take us more time, especially on the shop floor, where the short-term pressures on individuals are much higher and where the definition of short-term is different than most people in this room. A definitive highlight this year for my direct team and I was that we all attended the Conscious Leadership and Ethics Summit earlier this year. It had a different impact on each of us, depending on where we were on our individual journeys, as well as what each of us were going through at the time. This was an incredibly powerful time, and it brought us really closer as a team. The one lesson that we all took back with us, and that we hold each other accountable for, is to really being in a state of well-being, in a mode of well-being versus a mode of stress that we learned from Dr. Jan Bellerman in the summit. And we asked him to come back and share it with our top 50 leaders, which was also dearly embraced. The fact that both my personal and professional journeys have aligned so well over the last year have brought me real joy and accelerated my journey to the point where I could not imagine not having this alignment today or in the future. Besides my journey, what I cherish the most is great new friends I have made along the way. This has been really special. I would like to give a special mention to Brenda, who has been a true guiding light for me. I cannot tell you how much I look forward to our encounters, Brenda. As I close, I want to thank everyone who is here to support Conscious Leadership, and once again congratulate the finalists for making it this far, and no matter the result, embracing this great journey. Thank you.
Wow, what a story of an amazing journey that was. And now, I would like to first call up what I call the Queen Nzinga of consciousness. A leader who leads from the heart and a leader who leads with love. A warrior of conscious leadership. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for the founder and the chairperson of the Conscious Companies, Brenda Carley.
Good evening. It really is wonderful to see you all once again. Another year and another wave of leaders who joined the conscious leadership ecosystem. First, congratulations to all the finalists. Over the past 3 months, as we embarked on this journey, to identify the class of 2024. It has not been an easy one. They had embraced the arduous and meticulous criteria of the evaluation towards the final judging process, displaying a great deal of courage in doing so. It takes courage after the nominations to open yourself up to scrutiny and to embark on this rite of passage. As with every year, some leaders opt out when they understand the commitment and transparency that is required to move forward. Also, a gracious decision to protect themselves, and that's okay. These finalists are here tonight because their stories have an ethos of responsibility required to fulfill the needs of our time. Those who quietly go about making a meaningful difference with courage and determination despite the odds. They, like all of us, may not be perfect, but they have given of themselves in ways that require an understanding of who they truly are. They have their stories, and some have experienced personal transformation. We all have stories. Every one of us has a story to tell, our own personal journey that defines our worldview. Our perception of our experiences writes the tale, and the way we share the stories of our experiences paints the picture of our lives. The story we choose to live can be a masterpiece filled with lessons and opportunity, despite overwhelming obstacles, or it can be a meager attempt to hide in the shadows of your own potential. You know, there's a lot of chaos in the world at the moment, and there seems to be a deep and pressing need for leadership to cut through the noise and the external chaos around us. This despite the fact that we have made great strides in most aspects of our lives. We live in a time of ever-increasing knowledge, unceasing advances in technology, yet demonstrate very little wisdom. We have created access to a mountain of information, and yet still find it difficult to convey the simplest human expressions of love and compassion. We have explored space and built rocket ships and skyscrapers, yet remain disconnected from our fellow man. We can send a man to the moon, but we are still unwilling to extend a hand to our neighbor. Why do we do this? Why is it so difficult for us, including most leadership, to engage with and explore consciousness and oneness as a solution to the external chaos? Because consciousness is hard work that requires a leader to attune to a recognition of his internal ethos, and that is often too difficult to comprehend. It requires change and a deep personal awareness of oneself as a leader, as a human being, and that hinges on one's capacity to embark on an inward journey to know thyself, as Socrates had said. This is an internal process that manifests outwardly, and irrespective if you are given the title of president, chairman, CEO, a loser, or a homeless person, if it is within your consciousness to loot, you will loot. If it is within your consciousness to love, then you will love. If you stand as a beacon of light for consciousness, we can expect you to continue to stand for truth and humanity. I always say that we are all born conscious. It just depends on what you are conscious of. If you're conscious of your body, you'll spend most of your time at the gym. If you're aware of your sexuality, then sex becomes your driver. If you're conscious of accumulating wealth, your focus will be on the bottom line, regardless of people or anything else. What we look for in our finalists are seeds of consciousness and an awakening. Those who are bound by a state of being, of social ownership, of honor, justice, responsibility, and oneness, to seek solutions for greater good. They find it impossible to remain indifferent to a deep call from within the core of their beings to embrace their own humanity, to influence, to serve, to inspire and uplift without selfish intent or results, to do the right thing just because you are human. But we have a long way to go to make conscious leadership trendy. Perhaps we are not scalable enough. as we would like to be. And perhaps managing stakeholder expectations still takes priority over authentic accountability and collective purpose. Perhaps our attempt to shift the way of being for leaders to awaken into the power of consciousness is near impossible. However, there is hope. Against the suffocating, shrieking hell of global crises, devastating conflicts, and untold suffering, the human spirit is resilient beyond belief. And there are those leaders, and some of you are in the room, who have a profound sense of responsibility and a penetrating insight into the plight of people and their misery. Leaders who embrace this new age of consciousness and understand that no matter the title, wealth, status, or power, they serve selflessly because they serve at the bidding of an inner sense of purpose. The Conscious Companies Awards was initiated to do just that, to create a platform for leadership transformation through discovery, self-mastery, and introspection into the corporate space, and humanize business one leader at a time, and to celebrate stories worth celebrating. The essence of consciousness in those of us who understand that life is a matter of evolutionary consciousness also understand that change is an inherent part of nature, and nature itself is constantly evolving. Spring blooms, summer thrives, autumn decays, and winter rests. Birth, growth, decay, and rebirth. This cycle applies to all living beings, from plants to animals to us. And as we are part of nature, not separate, we can embrace the impermanence of nature and deepen our understanding of ourselves and our place within the world, leading to a more conscious, compassionate, and fulfilling existence. This impermanence and letting go of everything we hold on to in order to flow with the motion of life is called anicca in Sanskrit. But most of us have a difficult time to grasp this concept, and the idea of actual change is daunting and not something we are comfortable with. But change we must if we are to shift our way of being as a humanity. I can bear witness to any number of leaders who had shifted over the years and made the change, and others whose silent search to find that elusive something within themselves and still balance purpose with profit is why conscious leadership matters. It is an invitation to explore the possibility of discovering within you something larger than your power, asset base, status, or physical identity. Those within our global ecosystem has experienced this. They have initiated their conscious leadership journey right here by being finalists or winning the award, such as Vikas Khandelwal, who's in New York, Bruno Oliak in Dubai, and Danny Donkas in Greece. Bruno has actually just published his book talking about his conscious leadership journey. And many others who have taken this homegrown narrative to the world. This is also the reason why, despite the challenges and denial by clueless leaders, we are still here, and why Conscious Companies still survives, because our wealth is the torchbearers of our ecosystem that include our partners over the years, such as Merrick Abel and Hussein Kajika, our accredited members, and those who have accompanied the cause for conscious leadership and have walked this journey with us to experience a different way of being in the world. We can continue to do what we do because of you. Thank you all.
Brenda has got a way with words, which hit directly to the heart. I would like to ask Brenda from Conscious Companies to assist as we honor this year's finalists joining us on stage. I would like to ask everybody to give a big round of applause for Richard Firth, Slaven Gajovic, from Maximum Group. Dr. Pierre Leroux from Moyo. Glenda Maitan from BB OPEX. Najin Naidu from Smart Communities. Dr. Marie Paramon Gurney from Sculpture. Palisa Pili from Durban Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Martin Sweet and Kosinati Mashuana from the Youth Start Foundation. And Deborah Walisa from Got Produce Global Brands. And joining Brenda will be Lubin Oxir to hand out the certificates. Please do come on stage. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, let's hear it for the Conscious Companies Awards Class of 2024. Please, let's welcome Michael Jordan.
that hymn again. You know, Facebook has taken away the true meaning of a lot of words. The word love, and for my purposes tonight, the word honor. So I want to go back to the real and the true meaning of honor and tell you how humbled I am to be here tonight and to have been chosen to receive from the mother of conscious leadership an award to give to a man that I love so dearly that I'm going to ask you to accept any emotion in my address tonight. The one and only, the father of corporate governance, a man never to be replaced, Professor Mervyn King.
There was a focus after the famous Ford Motor Company case where it made excessive profit. And the court declared that excessive profit had to be declared as a dividend to shareholders before increasing the wages of employees because of the primacy of the shareholder. And the mindset was created by the Ford Motor Company case in 1919 and then in 1970 by the Nobel laureate economist Milton Friedman. And I paraphrase his thesis: the sole purpose of the company is to make profit without deception. I add, at any cost.
The time Michael Katz and I had started a postgraduate course in company law at the University of Witwatersrand. And it was in those lectures that I started talking about the question of how you govern.
I was approached by the Institute of Directors, Society of Accountants of South Africa, the Johannesburg Stock Exchange. Would I form a committee and write guidelines for the majority of my fellow citizens who have not been in the mainstream of the economy, now that suddenly going to come with equal opportunity, and yet had no guidance as to how to direct or how to manage? Would I write those guidelines? Because I said I didn't think about that because I was quite busy. As an article clerk in the legal profession, I met Mr. Mandela, who was then practicing in a street called Fox Street in Johannesburg. And so from time to time he telephoned me and discussed things with me. Whenever he wanted a favour, it would start like this: how's my favourite judge?
The corporate report. It's not a corporate report. What is this report?
King 4 has been released for public comment.
Let's move on to the King thing.
The zenith of creating sustainable development, so not only thriving, but surviving long term in a sustainable manner. The conscious company is a company through its leadership, because remember, the company is an inanimate, artificial person that has no heart, mind, or soul, has no conscience on its own. Its leaders create its conscience. And the leaders, the question of how the company makes its money, how the leaders build that business model is going to determine the conscience of the company. I've had 3 lives. I've been a successful lawyer, a successful businessman. And the third part of my life I found most rewarding. I've actually left a legacy of trying to improve the planet for humanity.
So let me unpack a little bit this evening about this incredible human being who has touched so positively the lives of so many. So when I arrived to do my articles at 17 years old, like the other of my friends whose parents couldn't afford to send us to university, we went to night school, we worked during the day. And we used to play cards at lunchtime in order to supplement our earnings. And the discussion often was about this incredibly brilliant young lawyer that had burst onto the scene in Johannesburg. The girls went crazy for him. They said he was the best-looking lawyer in Johannesburg. The lawyers hated him because they were all losing their clients to Mervyn King. My journey with Mervyn started when Mervyn left to go to the bar, and I started to brief Mervyn. And our friendship developed, and in those days, lawyers were divided into two groups: those who had to phone Mervyn through the switchboard, and those who had Mervyn's private line. And when Mervyn gave me the private line, I wanted to have a T-shirt made which said, "I have Mervyn King's private line." And I'm going to very quickly tell you a story which Liz has heard so many times. At 12 o'clock one day, 4 beautifully dressed men arrived in my office without an appointment, with an application this thick, to tell me that there was an application for an interdict to stop them selling properties, and it was being heard at 2 o'clock that afternoon. And I said, "But why would they want to interdict you selling property?" So the one guy said, "Well, the truth is we sell the same property 3 or 4 times." I said, "Well, that's a good reason for an interdict." And I phoned Mervyn, who told me that he had worked through the night, that I could come to Chambers at 1:10. And for those of you who know Mervyn, 1:10's not 1:11. The King Committee door was locked when meeting started at 2 o'clock. Mervyn's favourite response was, if there was traffic, I got here on time through the same traffic. And Mervyn said to me, "Come at 1:10. I'm going to nap from 10 past to 20 past. He power naps. Read it and give me the main points. We'll walk across to court and argue." We went across to court. We argued. Mervyn won with costs. And at the end, the judge said, "Mr. King, there's a growing tendency amongst advocates to appear before judges without reading the papers. What a joy it has been today to listen to you with your understanding and knowledge of the papers." We walked across Pritchard Street, and I said, "But Mervyn, you didn't read the papers." He said, "You gave me the 4 or 5 touch points. You lawyers always say the same thing. You just connect the dots." I never believed, growing up in Bez Valley, Bezuidenhout Valley, Yeovil, that one day I would walk alongside this giant and he would take me on this incredible journey of corporate governance. I truly can say that I watched Mervyn change the commercial and corporate governance world. He gave the world the planet and people and profit. He gave the world integrated thinking and integrated reporting. He gave the world stakeholder-centric models in the true sense of the word. And when I was appointed a month ago as the co-chair of the International Law Committee of the American Bar Association, and I was going to give my opening address to the Corporate Governance Committee, I thought, which of Mervyn's topics is the one that touched me the most? And the one that touched me the most is when Mervyn gave to the world an outcomes-based code. Mervyn tossed the tick box approach and gave the world an outcomes-based approach, which had principles, recommended practices, and what the true outcomes of corporate governance really are. And I remember after he appointed the 9 of us as the task team to write King 4, and said that we had 3 years to do it, we went into a little room at the IOD, and the first question asked is, what the hell is an outcomes-based code? What's he talking about? Well, 3.5 years later, and in San Diego, where I spent 3 days with the top judges from Delaware, the leading lawyers from New York and Silicon Valley, and in other great states in America, in an incredible 3-day American Bar Committee meeting, there was one common factor. from the judges to the lawyers, to the professors from some of the great universities who were there. Every one of them knew Mervyn King and the King Code and Report. Truly, this man is to the commercial world and to the corporate governance world what Beethoven is to music, what Shakespeare is to literature, what Rembrandt is to art. Mervyn King is the man who has changed our world for the better. I can truly tell you that all of the excitement in the world today of ESG, I heard years ago from Mervyn, when Mervyn spoke about how we need to look after our planet, when he spoke about sustainability and resilience of corporations, long before the world spoke about it. I planned and did to read Mervyn's book on the return trip from the US, and I did. I finished it as we landed. And the book spoke volumes about all of the awards which Mervyn has got. But the most important award wasn't mentioned. That is that Mervyn is still that boy next door with his wicked sense of humor, his humility, and the thousands of business people who have walked to that door with problems and come back with them solved for no reward. Mervyn has always been there for everybody. A devoted husband to our darling Liz. And I think the real tribute to Mervyn was an unsolicited WhatsApp which I received from Mervyn's son Matthew a couple of weeks ago, in which he said, Greg, Mervyn's other and Liv's other son, Greg and I are so proud to have Mervyn as our father. Could any human being get any greater compliment in his life? Notwithstanding the 248 pages of David Williams' brilliant book of every award, to be a man whose two sons are so proud of him, whose grandchildren are so devoted to him, and to be such a humble, caring, and decent human being who has positively changed the lives of so many people. I want to ask you to join me, because this is a very special night. Please read my lips. There will never be another Mervyn King. Tonight is a very, very special night when we give an award to a man whose shoes can never, ever be filled. I pray to God that Mervyn is blessed with good health for many, many, many more years to do what he has done. And Mervyn, we love you.
Michael, thank you for all those accolades, but I want to point out you forgot to take off your tackies before you landed in Johannesburg.
Look at the socks I wore for you.
You obviously played tennis in San Diego. But thank you very much for this honour of a Lifetime Achievement Award. I will treasure it. But I want to take you all back just for a moment to the middle of the 19th century, when the intellectuals at the time were thinking of creating this legal fiction called a company. And one intellectual, Lord Thurlow, in 1844, was leading the opposition to the creation of this artificial person, the limited liability company. He said, and I'm going to quote him almost verbatim, "Who are we to create a person? Only the Almighty can create a person. And we are creating a person that has no heart, no mind, no soul, and no conscience. It cannot be charged with treason. It has no body to be kicked." Lord Thurlow was absolutely correct. We're all associated with limited liability companies, but it's a legal fiction. It's an entity that only becomes alive through the hearts, mind, soul, and conscience of its corporate leaders, its directors. And that's the governance architecture of this legal fiction. And so the words of Lord Thurlow ring in my ears on the question of being a conscious company. When something goes wrong, society sort of turns its anger against the company, the brand. That anger should be turned against its corporate leaders, because they are the heart, mind, soul, and conscience of the company. The company, as a fiction, cannot have the intent to do wrong. So to be a conscious leader, one has to remember that you are the mind of the company. You are the soul and the conscience of the company. So to all those who have won over the last few years the Conscious Companies Awards, congratulations. And Brenda, where are you? There you are. Brenda and I have known each other since 1985. I remember the day because at that time she was a journalist for the Sunday Times newspaper. And she was given a brief that day to write an article in the Business Times of a day in the life of Mervyn King. And she chose the day when I was flying in the corporation's jet around the country visiting our new stores. At the time I was the chairman of Checkers, Metro Cash and Carry, Dion, Russell's. All this was the biggest trading group in the Southern Hemisphere. And Brenda joined me in the corporate jet and we flew around the countryside visiting for 4 or 5 towns to see the new stores. And she said, "I want to meet your wife. I also want to include her in the article." So at the end of the day, we landed, we went to my house, and she met Liz. And this was on a Friday, and on a Sunday, the Sunday Times came out. And the business article, in the article thing, in the middle was a picture of Liz with her Maltese dog sitting on her lap, taking up at least 50% of the article. And, but thank you for that article, Brenda. The thought of starting a conscious company was the brainchild of Brenda. She did discuss it with me. She did ask me to join her on the journey. I said I would help her because it was a great concept, and so it has turned out to be. To be a conscious leader is really to do the right thing in the long-term best interest of this incapacitated person that has no heart, mind, soul, or conscience of its own. You are its conscience. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor King. Very important words from Professor King. The company has got no conscience. It's its leaders that are its heart, mind, soul, and consciousness. Now, to take us into dinner, please welcome back the winner of the Conscious Companies Awards 2023, the singing surgeon, Dr. Willem Lichtenberg.
Thank you very much, Alec. How do you follow that? I just want to apologize for my crib notes. It infers not so much disrespect to the guests in this room as my limited cognitive abilities. Remember the words of a language that I don't speak. So if I cheat, I don't normally do, but please forgive me if I have to refer to this wonderful device to try and make any sense, especially with a native Italian speaker in the audience. No pressure there.
Stanotte amore non ho più penso attento a te, ho aperto gli occhi per guardare intorno a me, intorno a me girava il mondo come sempre. Gira, il mondo gira nello spazio come sempre, con gli amori appena nati, con gli amori già finiti, con la gioia, col dolore della gente come me. Oh mondo, soltanto adesso io ti guardo, nel tuo silenzio io mi fermo, e sono niente accanto a te. Il mondo non si è fermato mai un momento, la notte insegue sempre il giorno ed il giorno verrà. Stanotte amore non un penso a te. Ho aperto gli occhi per guardare intorno a me. Intorno a me girava il mondo come sempre. Gira, il mondo gira nello spazio senza fine, con gli amori tendo avanti, con gli amori già finiti, con la gioia e col dolore della gente come me. Oh mondo, soltanto adesso io ti guardo, nel tuo silenzio se li perdo, e sono niente a guardare. la notte insegue sempre il giorno, ed il giorno verrà. Il mondo non si è fermato un momento, la notte insegue sempre il giorno, ed il giorno verrà. Stanotte amore, ma non lascia tempo a te.
What a wonderful performance from the singing surgeon. Thank you very much. I'd like to announce that we will be having dinner. And for those who are joining us digitally, please stay with us for some insights on leadership and business from this year's finalists and the Conscious Companies Awards 2024. Thank you.
So MIP's a fintech in the software engineering space. We develop software or own software in the financial services space around healthcare, life insurance, retirement annuities and lending. And then we also provide a digital business engagement platform for digitally enabling companies to integrate and work better with their customer. So it's been an interesting journey because especially in software development, the value of the product is in the eyes of the beholder. You know, if you're selling an apple, there's a market price and that's how much you get for an apple. Where software, literally, you can make up a price depending on the people involved in the deal or involved in the tender, whatever the case might be. So early on in my development, I realized that ethical leadership is fundamental in the software side. I can tell you we've been approached so many times for corrupt relationships, corrupt practices, and this doesn't only include government, funnily enough, you know, private sector companies. You can imagine we were competing, or we do compete against multinationals, and in the late 1990s and early 2000s, it was easy for these big multinationals to come into an organization and take the IT staff to Germany to come and see how their systems work. The staff didn't pay for it. The vendor paid for those kinds of things. And we very early on saw these corrupt practices take place. And I think we've been through a very long journey of watching this play out, and companies, big companies, respectable companies like SAP in South Africa, you know, they recently got a $220 million fine out of the US for practices in South Africa. And, you know, these practices in the fine were limited to a period when they had relationships with a family called the Guptas. But I don't believe that the investigations have gone wider than just that. But just the fact that they got a $220 million fine shows that there's issues in their relationships. And for us to be able to compete in that space as a South African company in South Africa through those turbulent times, we decided to take a path of conscious leadership, for want of a better word, and really focused on how we could build a conscious company in a country that was growing. You know, we have many social issues, we have growth issues, and I believed unless every company focused on South Africa as a whole and the people in South Africa, rather than how do we get our money offshore, how do we get our intellectual property offshore, which was the late 1990s up to the 2010s, maybe even some companies today. You know, their plan is to try and get stuff offshore rather than build an onshore business that's good for all of us to operate in the country.
Maximum Group is a group of companies revolving around the mega projects and doing the large-scale, mixed-use, integrated mega projects in smart cities. And we take the multidisciplinary value chain approach and we participate in the downstream businesses. The company's motto and the group's motto, which is also our registered trademark, is profit while doing good. So we are in this business to do good and of course to make it profitable. Because we only believe that the profitability together with doing good is the sustainable way of doing the real difference in this world, and not being dependent on third parties, but rather being self-sustainable economically, financially, and of course environmentally, and so on and so forth. So Maximum Group's main bread and butter business is development of mega projects. These are large-scale projects and future smart cities in conjunction with human settlements. We do projects where you basically create new settlements from scratch, where you will have between 25 and 30,000 or plus housing units. And then, of course, everything else that a new town or new city would require. We also build in schools, hospitals, clinics, community places, public open places, basically everything a new town will need. As a sort of simpler way of explaining it, I'm saying that mega projects development is like playing SimCity but for real.
Moyo is an organization that we founded 17 years ago. I always tell people that if you truly want to understand Moyo, you must understand the philosophy behind the organization. Moyo means heart in Swahili. That's why we've chosen the name to start off with. When we started the organization, it was myself and a few of my partners. We started the organization to create a platform from which we can be the best that we can be professional, while making a difference and making an impact in society, creating work, and truly create a platform from which we can create opportunities for like-minded people in our industry, which is in the digital economy, from which to grow and to focus. I suppose a big portion of that philosophy, I suppose, stems from my own worldview. I grew up in the Free State, Northern Cape and Free State, and years ago I decided, and I truly want to create work. I have got the dream that I want to create 1 million jobs. And as we worked in corporate, we realized that there must be something better. There must be a place where I can live to the fullest without the shenanigans, without the politics that corporates bring. And we set out to build that. So we started an organization called Heart in Swahili with the intent to create that platform, to create opportunities, and to be that proverbial light in the city. It's not something that you find often in organizations. Some people may find it strange, but that's why I always tell people you need to understand the philosophy behind to understand the company itself. The company exists to assist people and organizations to thrive in the digital economy. We do that across a number of frontiers. We do consulting, which is digital consulting and engineering. We have got a technology leg and a talent leg, which in my view forms the triangle that really allows us to assist organizations and people to flourish in the digital economy as you go through your digital transformation journey.
So my business is all about making an impact, whether we go to an organization or whether we work in the community. So our service offering focuses mainly on supply chain training and talent management. And we do what we call catalytic projects. So catalytic projects is basically making an impact. So, and I need to be practical, I don't want to play around with words, but when there is I'll give you one of the examples. We've done a project where a funder came to us and say, look, supply chain skills are quite critical. Would you manage this project for us and go train 100 young ladies in the rural areas and teach them about supply chain? And I was like, yes, of course. I'm very passionate about supply chain. So by doing that, training these young ladies, bringing in something new that they haven't heard of from school or even in their daily life, we trained them up, gave them certifications, and then we approached organizations and we asked organizations to host them so that they can do practical. So that's what catalytic projects is about. We also ran a project where we were asked to go into Kenya, Senegal, Nigeria to work with the ministries of health and look at their supply chain processes. So that's catalytic. I mean, it has an impact in the world at large. It's not just about you pay me, I do the work, and that's it. So very, very clear on that. So it's a training, talent management, the catalytic solutions. We also do transformation coaching. So coaching professionals. One of our philosophies is know who you are, so you can be who you are, then you do great exploits. So it's all about the whole of the human, because a lot of us, you do things and then you do it for years and years and you're mechanical. And then you sit back and later on you're like, who am I? And then, sometimes it's kind of like, so we're saying, know who you are, connect with who you are, become aware, live what you believe. If you're passionate about something, follow that. Once you know that, then be your authentic self. And that is and then you do the great exploits. And that's what our coaching packages and team building that we go into organizations or even communities. So that's kind of like our service offering.
Okay, so Smart Communities is a platform business. We're a registered non-profit in South Africa. And the idea behind Smart Communities, we support communities across the country. So things like community benefit organizations that are keeping their communities safer, cleaning up their communities, or trying to tackle the homelessness or begging problems in South Africa. Our idea behind it is that we want to be able to support these organizations in making a difference, and we believe that by supporting them, they will actually change South Africa. So, through active citizenry. I think through my experiences in South Africa and seeing the issues that we have across the country, that something needs to be done about it. So I've had a couple of personal experiences. From an attempted hijacking, I've been taken hostage in South Africa, crime in our communities just getting out of control, having a neighbor that was taken hostage as well. I just found things were getting out of control, and I was either going to leave the country or choose to do something about it. And I'm not one to back down from a challenge, so we chose to do this. So we started out by taking care of security in Sandton, so just trying to keep the neighborhood safer. Typical reaction of keep the thugs out and keep all people that we don't know out. But I also felt that wasn't a solution to the problem, because you just shifted that problem to a different area. So we then evolved from that organization. My then partner and I got together and we looked at taking homeless people off the streets and actually crowdsourcing money from the community and providing them with an income and teaching them how to clean up the city, take care of the green spaces, making them part of the solution as opposed to part of the problem. And I also have a big belief in how New York City was turned around through the broken glass theory. So if you keep things looking good, then criminals and the unsavories tend not to want to be in the area. Yeah, so that's part of our backstory and inspiration to get going.
So Schoolcha is a Pty Limited based in South Africa, and we are a purpose-driven company. Our purpose is to shift culture for a better world. What do we mean by this is that we support organization, public organization, private sector, development partner, NGO and government to take a more transformative and system change approach to their sustainability, impact, shared value and legacy journey. So we really help them to think on what's going to be their impact in the long term on society. We mainly focus on Africa. We've done work in Asia and in Europe. And it's really why we're doing this, or why we have focused on this, is because we really believe that to change our sustainability journey, we need to focus on culture. We are dealing with human, and we can't just change the world with policy, data, science. There is also a change of culture impact. So we're a macro enterprise, and often when we speak about conscious company or sustainable company, we always go to the big guys. But we already believe that to transform society or sustainability, the small guys have actually massive impact, and they often not recognized, or they don't know how to just get their voice out there to show what they can do. And we're hoping that's why we got recognized, and also because we are what we say we are. I really believe that. While I was preparing for this interview, I was like, what makes you different is actually our company is us. It's not different. When you engage with culture, you engage with people first.
So the Durban Chamber of Commerce and Industry, we are a non-profit company. We were founded in 1856. We are the second oldest chamber in Southern Africa, but we are the largest metropolitan chamber in Southern Africa itself. Our main role is policy and advocacy. And also at the same time, we provide a networking platform for businesses to be able to network with each other. We also provide a platform for businesses that want to do international trade, to be able to trade with different countries that they would like to be able to trade with, giving them the security of ensuring that we make sure that there is a component of the government of those respective countries that they want to be trading with, together with our own ambassadors in those specific countries. So we give that kind of security to ensure that if a business that's one of our members trades with a company wherever in the world, the company has been checked that it's a credible company and people will not be able to be taken for a ride. On advocacy, we advocate, our mandate is very clear. We advocate for the business community. Our main role is to ensure that government provides a conducive environment for businesses to thrive and grow, so that the economy can grow and the jobs can be created. I've been handling relations and things, both with the working with government and also for the private sector, but most importantly, putting the needs of of the country first. And also, what I've seen is the feedback that I'm getting, and I know I try to work at it very hard myself. I think it also comes back with this conscious leadership, that when I interact with the different government officials, I ensure that I am clear, honest, but at the same time I deliver the message in a very respectful but bold manner. So there's a lot of things that the Durban Chamber has championed that affect both KwaZulu-Natal and the country. Last year, we were, at the forefront of, wanting change at Transnet, because the leadership then was really going to be driving Transnet to a really serious hole, which was really going to affect the economy and jobs of a lot of people. So we put that at the forefront of everything that we're doing, and said this is not about individuals or anything, but it is for the good of the majority of the people in this country. One of the other things that we've actually done is the city of eThekwini, we're in serious trouble. I mean, it has been named so many names in terms of non-functionality and challenges that it has been faced with. And from the position that we came in as the Durban Chamber, we said, look, we're not going to give up. We're going to keep on pressing and ensuring that we get the necessary help we get from the highest office in the land. We were fortunate to have met with President Ramaphosa earlier on this year, and our interaction with him ensured that he set up a working group with eThekwini Municipality and the Durban Chamber to really look at ensuring that the city improves in very key areas such as water, sanitation, distribution of electricity, where we want a partnership with government and one private sector participation, because government says they don't have money. So we're looking for a model, not the typical 10-year PPP cycle, but a quick model that will make sure that private sector is able to quickly address these particular issues and make sure that they do work. The second one is safety and security. Third one is business confidence. Business confidence, includes things such as, at the municipality, there's a lot of corruption, that has been going on there. People are not held accountable. There's no consequence management. And these are some of the things that we said to the president we need to be seeing happening in the city in order to make sure that we improve the services. They improve the services to the citizens of eThekwini. But not just eThekwini. You must remember, if eThekwini doesn't work, and places like Transnet doesn't work, the whole country is actually going to be in trouble, right? So we really put a special focus and emphasis on the role that eThekwini is playing into the economy and making sure that economy is active. And then the last one, in terms of the advocacy and that we're doing is tourism on the work stream that we discussed with the president. Tourism plays a very important role, low-hanging fruit. We need to revitalize tourism and make sure that we have the much needed tourists to come into the country, spend their money so that the jobs can be created.
We look at the environment and we try to find areas where we can make the most impact. We're very purposeful in this, and we do a lot of investigative work and research. And so we came up with 5 areas which are very important and are missing in the curriculum. And we are known as the private tutor to public education. So what we do is we teach maths and science. The program is called Educate. The impact of the program is really amazing because our kids get 16 to 23% above the national average. We run a program on entrepreneurship. This program is now in its 10th year. We have created amazing little businesses, 710 entries in school across the country. We teach young people to go into their communities, find a problem, come up with a solution, test it, get customer verification and validation, and then we teach them to scale. The program is based, most of our programs are taught in theatres, movie houses, so it's edutainment or edutrainment, and young people come to watch movies, and they're very impactful because they learn from stories. We teach through story, and it's been amazing to watch these young people go back into their communities and solve problems. And if you consider the way schools are taught, a teacher stands in front of the learner and they regurgitate what he says. In our programs, they solve problems, critical thinking, creative thinking, and the impact, as I say, we create 710 entries for companies. We then bring the winning teams from across South Africa and we bring them to Gauteng. Teams from all over, every province. And we have the Young Entrepreneur of the Year Awards, which is a spectacular event, and it's all the better because young people are being celebrated and their ability to become entrepreneurs. So in a country with very few jobs and high unemployment, entrepreneurship is a solution. So we try and push that, and we try and make sure that young people we move them from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset. And we also run programs that are impactful for the world. Like this year, we have an entrepreneurial program raising young entrepreneurs for a changing climate. So sustainability is very, very important, the goals, the sustainable goals. And the young people come up with amazing programs to deal with climate change and find opportunities in the green economy. So we don't only teach people, young people, don't buy once of plastic bags, plant trees, don't pollute, but we teach them to find opportunities that the green economy provides. Now, if you consider the green economy, servicing wind turbines and putting solar panels on roofs are important jobs. We teach them about the sharing economy, the circular economy, so that they can work with the circular economy and the sharing economy to create jobs. And it's working. As I say, it's in its 10th year. We launched a program called Rethink Rands, and a very innovative way of teaching young people about how to manage their money better, because it deals with the IQ and the EQ of money. And so not only do young people learn how to get out of debt, save, budget, but they learn how their emotions impact their dealings with money. So the programs move from understanding maths and science, part of the curriculum, which is important because it opens the door to all professions. We teach them about managing their money better. We teach them how to be good entrepreneurs. We focus on career guidance. And we really impact schools where the need is greatest. And that's how we've been running Prime Stars. And it's really wonderful to see how these young people come out of these programs with a lot of knowledge, with a lot of emotion, with a lot of purpose. We're very grateful that we can see the difference in these communities.
So Prime Stars is a social enterprise for good. It has been established now for 20 years, focusing on bringing quality education to high school learners from across South Africa, who, by virtue of where they come from, being township and rural communities, have limited access to quality education. So our ethos is to be the facilitator of that education to young people in township and rural communities, using visual medium, using edutainment, using cinema as theatres of learning, as well as experiential learning to help young people leave these environments and become what we like to call meaningful contributors to the economy. So the work that we do is fundamentally focused on bringing projects to high schools as extramural programs, but we look to equip young people with the skills they need to survive beyond school. We know that if we're to, example, find Ngosnati in a Sandton area or Ngosnati in a Seshego area, both of them have the same ability to achieve and the same capacity to achieve in life. The difference is that Ngosnati in Seshego, for example, has limited access to support. So our job is to support Ngosnati in Seshego so that he can leave school and be able to compete equally when leaving school. We do so in matric math and science revision that runs in schools nationally, where we cover the full curriculum with our teachers and their teachers, bring in materials. So we run after-school programs in school environments. And where there are cinemas, we actually bus these learners in on a Sunday morning to come in and engage content on screen, all free of charge through partnerships with government and the private sector. So there we focus on critical skills development. We've got a career initiative that's focused on helping young people make better decisions on how to align their skills to jobs of the future, to try and really attack, or rather address, that's a better term, the youth unemployment crisis in the country. We've got an entrepreneurship development program as well, again, focusing on how do we help a young person not just leave school as a job seeker, but give them the practical tools they need to become a job creator. And in so doing, create an ecosystem that can support them in establishing those businesses long term. We've also done some work in gender-based violence prevention, which is very, very close to my heart in terms of raising a nation of good men. And we're now dabbling into leadership and financial education to ensure that more young people can leave school and join us in really building the country we seek.
It's an interesting business. It's taking something that we've all heard of called hydroponics and using it to empower countries and communities to be food sovereign, which is a step above just food secure. So really we use the company to empower people in a way that they haven't been able to be empowered before. Food kind of is the common denominator to all of us humans, and I think, you know, this consciousness is also another common denominator. And so from this little idea of using this technology to grow food, we literally grew that into a company around the world. We started in the US and are in 12 countries now. So what we do is we put in food production centers, so countries that rely on imports or they can't feed themselves, or if there's communities that can't feed themselves, we put in food production centers. They have the ability to choose whatever food that they want to eat, whatever food they want to grow. We can grow it in that food production center. We do workforce readiness training. We do heritage seed saving and breeding. So all these specialty things that the world is losing, we can now bring back into commercial quantities. And then we also bring that power back to those communities and say, okay, look, normally I would just eat this because that's what's given to us, or normally we would just eat this because it's what we have to import. But maybe nobody ever asked us if that's really what we want to eat. Maybe we want something natural and good for our bodies, and we've never had that option before. In our food production centers, it's now an option. So from beginning to end, people get to decide, hey, this is what I want to eat, and I want it to be wholesome and good, and I want it to be local, and I don't want to rely on trade agreements and what policy says that we're allowed to get, what distributor agreements. We want to have all the decisions within our community, and that's what our company does. So it's food and beyond.
We are live in Johannesburg, and it is the part of the evening that we have all been waiting for. The road to the awards can be a challenging and insightful process. Here's a message from the Conscious Leadership Academy's Dr. Jan Belleman.
wonderful good evening from Germany, and congratulations to all finalists of the Conscious Companies Awards 2024. Well done to you as business leaders for undertaking this unique journey of consciousness. It has been a tough selection process since February, from the nominations to submitting impact reports, interviews with the founder of Conscious Companies, assessing the organization operating system of your executive team, and not to forget, the famous personal interviews. All input has been reviewed by Professor Mervyn King and his esteemed panel. From the Conscious Leadership Academy side, the layered assessment and mixed method of both qualitative and quantitative is necessary to maintain the integrity of this prestigious honor as the Conscious Companies Awards Class of 2024. So thank you for your contribution as a conscious business leader and your willingness for authentic reflection over the past 7 months. I hope that you enjoy the celebrations, and congratulations once again.
Welcome back to the Conscious Companies Awards 2024. I'm delighted to welcome back the founder and the chairperson of the Conscious Companies, Brenda Carley.
Hello again. I hope you enjoyed your dinner. You know, a decade ago, I had traveled the world talking to saints, gurus, swamis, humanitarians, rabbis, priests, who had all created wealth by being God's solution merchandisers. But a hardcore businessman who gave up his security and transformed into a humanitarian, philanthropist, and spiritual leader is why Mohanji had initially been invited to the Conscious Leadership and Ethics Summit 2022. His transformative journey and the taste of consciousness had him dedicate his life to raising self-awareness through his core teachings of harmony, compassion, and humanity. There are many different definitions of the word consciousness, with its various iterations and interpretations, understandings, misunderstandings, and knowings. But in the world of business, where the focus prioritizes on logic, numbers, and rationality, the noble exploits of what we do are sometimes saluted as conscious leadership. But once in a while, there are some of those whose existence is not consumed by the do, but rather soars into the ethereal, tasting the infinite and melting into the hollow. These are not exploits easily allocated on a P&L. The rationale is bliss, the logic is love, and the ocean of the universe consumes you. Such a being is Mohanji. Tonight, he is presented with the Conscious Companies Humanitarian Award, not just for his humanitarian work through his foundation, but for his selfless service promoting a shift from humankind to kind humans globally. Through his initiatives worldwide, he has founded and inspired work across the continents over 90 countries, yet proudly walks in the footprint of his masters. Before taking him, this is a sign of devotion to the extreme. Ladies and gentlemen, please, I'd like you to watch his work and his life.
Mohanji is a globally recognized humanitarian, spiritual leader and visionary who has dedicated his life to the welfare of mankind and all other species on Earth. He envisions a kinder world where all beings can coexist without fear of one another. He encourages self-awareness through self-acceptance and practicing non-violence in thoughts, expressions, and actions as a lifestyle. Born in 1965 in Kerala, India, his spiritual journey began at a young age. Despite his spiritual inclinations, he excelled in a successful corporate career in the Middle East. However, the tragic loss of his daughter Amu in 2000 became a profound turning point. Transforming immense pain into purpose, he dedicated his life to serving the world. With a unique blend of spiritual wisdom and compassion, Mohanji guides individuals towards self-discovery and inner transformation. His core message is non-violence, and he advocates for the well-being of all species, making him an influential vegan voice. His core teaching, Be You, emphasizes self-awareness and self-acceptance, encouraging people to embrace their true potential and live a life of purpose, promoting the shift from humankind to kind humans. Under his leadership, the Mohanji Foundation has grown exponentially, with 19 registered foundations across 6 continents and 12 centers of benevolence and peace. Driven entirely by volunteers, these organizations foster harmony and compassion, supporting communities in over 90 countries. Through humanitarian organizations such as the ACT Foundation and Amuka Charitable Trust, Mohanji founded platforms provide food, clothing, education, and healthcare, as well as disaster relief. He has also founded platforms such as the World Consciousness Alliance and the World Tribal Alliance, working to drive positive global change and protect all species. Mohanji's teachings have touched the lives of thousands worldwide through his message of love, compassion, and self-empowerment. He resonates with people from a wide variety of backgrounds, making him a beloved figure in the global humanitarian, business, and spiritual communities.
You know, the auditing business and conscious leadership is normally known as an oxymoron. But the most conscious auditor in the business is one who has remained a partner over the years. I'd now like to call upon Graham Boak to the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my privilege and honor to present Mohanji, or Dr. Mohanji, with the Conscious Company's Humanitarian Award. Please come to the stage.
Good evening to all of you. Thank you so much for this great appreciation, great award. I cherish this because many times in life, when we go ahead doing our thing in the world, hoping that this is the right thing to do, we have no idea. Because there's nothing to test it. There's no benchmark. And the world needs a lot of stuff. And world is in its current shape, you know it very well. So there are so many things to do, and we do not know whether we are doing the right thing. So when we get such appreciation, it tells us, yes, you are in the right track. Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you to the conscious leadership setup, the infrastructure. the team behind it, all of you who voted for it, and especially Brenda and Mervyn King. Thank you. I was honored to sit next to him in today's function. Thank you so much for that. And to all of you, I appreciate it. Now, being conscious, it's not a right, it's a responsibility. First level of being conscious starts with being conscious that we are alive. This is number one. We are alive today. Second level of being conscious is to know that our life is temporary. If you live 80 years, it's only 80 birthdays, 80 Christmas, 80 everything. There's not a lot. If you live 80 years, it's 29,200 days, that's all. And in that time, so much of time is spent on sleeping, gossiping, doing so many things. And sometimes we fight ourselves most of the time. When we wake up, we are not happy because we tend to compare with another person. We tend to compete with another person, thinking that we can excel than what we are now. It's not true. Please remember, we all believe that we are living in one world called this earth. Is it true? No. We are all our own worlds. Nobody is same as another. Please remember, we are only in one space, but we are not part of one world. We are all our own worlds. We only can associate with how we are. We cannot associate with something or anything about anybody or with somebody thinking that they are like us. That's not true. Nobody is like us. Our thumb impression is unique to us. There is nobody like us. So how foolish it is to compare with another and say that I can excel that. That's not true. All we have to do is to excel from our yesterday to today, or excel in what we are. And that brings uniqueness, authenticity. World is looking for that. World is looking at how authentic you are. World is not looking for imitations, and world has no regard for imitations. There's no way you can compete and then you can behave like another and still be accepted. Now, I'm not here for a big speech, but I wanted to, I remember, as I was sitting there, I was remembering the last moments of Socrates. This is a story which I heard. Socrates drank poison, and he was dying. There were people around him, and he had closed his eyes, and he was slipping into death. One person asked him, "Sir, do you have any regrets?" Suddenly, he opened his eyes, and he had tears coming down. He said, "Yes, I could not thank all the people who helped me to stay liberated. I consumed food. I don't know who made them. I consumed a lot of things to stay alive until now. And I don't know who did it, who served me, who did all these things. I could not thank anybody. So I have regrets. I could not thank them." Living consciously. This was the last message from Socrates. To live consciously, we should always live with gratitude. Be grateful for everything. Today we are living here. Heart is beating. There is something to do. Tomorrow, no idea. No idea. As I said, if you live 80 years, it's only 29,000 days. That's not a lot of days. There's no time to compete, no time to fight. We have to do something on earth. I was with Craig Foster, the feature Oscar winner for My Octopus Teacher. I came to see him in Cape Town. Very sensitive man, and we resonated with each other. And likewise, I was with Dr. Samir Osmanagic in Sarajevo, in the pyramids of Bosnia just before I came here. I came from Sarajevo. So these are people very conscious, very much conscious, and giving their last drop of blood for a cause connected to earth. Please remember, while we are talking this, rainforests are burning. Since weeks now, we are trying to do something in the Amazon forest. So much of hectares of land are burnt, gone. And this is the lungs of the world, burnt. And so much of disaster going on here. But we are probably not so conscious about all this. Because if we are conscious, I always say, we should we should discard our hypocrisy. And don't just presume or assume or pretend that everything is okay. I'm not trying to be pessimistic, nor I'm telling you to be pessimistic or to do something just to please the world or something, but feel it. The moment you start feeling, then we'll start doing. Please remember, I was working in corporate as it was told here. At one point in time, I had no satisfaction from what I do. Money was okay. Position was okay. Everything was good. What money can buy, I have enjoyed. But again, contentment factor. I believe the best earning of a lifetime is contentment. For that, we need stability. Stability has to happen from mind. And if for stability's sake, we need to have clarity of purpose. We need to know exactly what are we doing here, why we are here, why. Secondly, clarity gives effectiveness. So our activity will be effective. Please remember, the first part of our life as child, we were not effective because we were dependent. Last part of our life also, we may not be effective because we are dependent again. So effective life is only a small part of our total life. That time, if we don't have clarity, if we are chasing something, imagining tomorrow we will be happy, we might be wrong. So stability is stability based on clarity of purpose. That leads to effectiveness. Effective activities lead to contentment. And contentment is your best gift of this life. If you have a contented existence, you are powerful, you are strong, you have a great presence on earth. All of us can do that. All of us have it. And I'm looking at people who are leaders in their own right, in their own organization, and in the world. And you can actually make a big difference. I was addressing a group of very, very big businessmen in England, in London. And they were all multimillionaires, of course. And all the questions, it was an interactive session, and all the questions they asked was how to find contentment. And that was the point here. Activity cannot lead to contentment if there is no clarity. If we are clear what we have to do on earth, it will all happen. And it is not connected to our usual life of taking birth, having an education, having a job, having a wife, having a child, having a house, and then cars, and then we die. That's a usual mechanical way of social existence. But that's not the point here. Individually, what we are, what we could do, and there is tremendous strength in everybody. We are all unique, and that's our strength. Once again, thank you very much for honoring me, giving me the space and the time to speak these words. I wish all of you great health, great vitality, great clarity, and also great effectiveness in this world. I'm walking with you. I love you. Thank you so much.
Be you. Be grateful. Be thankful. Be authentic. What a wonderful message. To present this year's awards, please welcome our partner CEO from PrimeServe, Merrick Abel and Brenda Carley. And now, let's take a look at the NGO NPC finalists of the Conscious Companies Awards 2024.
That's when I made the change to understanding that the company is actually a platform for the employees to do the very best that they can, and they will create the product. I, as a leader, had to create the platform to allow them to succeed, and that was my main job. And that's what I've been taking forward ever since.
Things must be working in this country. It's a beautiful country, and we cannot allow it to go down. So, starting with where you live, where we actually had to make sure that we all become activists, we all put our heads together, and looking and seeing that, when you work alone, you won't be able to make that difference. But when you do it collectively with a whole lot of other people, that's when you'll be able to make the impactful difference.
My parents were Holocaust survivors. They were refugees. They arrived in this country. This country gave them a home. They never had any material wealth at all. We never had a home. In fact, we never owned a car. But one thing my mother did was she made sure that I got an education.
Well, I've always known that I've always been happy when working with young people, seeing them inspired, because I always see a version of myself in them and what I always hoped I had in my life, someone to support you on, cheer you on, and remind you that you are powerful. I always wished I had that. So I think my passion is in helping others find that light, helping them stoke it, and just encouraging them to let it burn.
This is a crucial time. In the NGO category, the judges had a hard time to choose the winner. And the winner is Martin Sweet and Nkosinathi from Youth Star.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's really a great honour. Firstly to Brenda Carley, you've done an amazing job of focusing business in this country on what's right and what's good. We run many programs. We run a program called What About the Boys, which teaches young men to grow up to be good men. It's a preventative GBV program. I think that's one of our most exciting programs. We also teach maths and science, entrepreneurship, financial literacy. We touch the lives of 90,000 kids a year. We've worked with over 1.5 million children. And I can tell you this, I've gone through corporate life, but this period in my life has been most rewarding. We work with phenomenal people sitting in this room, an agency that helped us define the logos for 3 winning programs. He's sitting over there. I'd like to acknowledge him. Pepe,
Pepe, please stand. You are the most amazing guy, and I really appreciate what you do for us. You know, Mike Juden, after that speech for the wonderful, amazing, phenomenal Mervyn King, I asked him to speak at my funeral. Because that was one of the greatest eulogies or speeches I've ever heard. And Mr. King, you've been an inspiration all my life. I'm a lawyer too. I wish I was 1/100th of a lawyer like you, but it's wonderful to be in the same room and to be recognized by the same people. I have a phenomenal partner, Nkosi Mashwana, and I'd like him to say a few words. Come on.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It is an incredible honor to receive this award. I must say, Martin's been in the space for 20 years, and all that we've done has been off of the hard work that he started for us. And all we can do is continue doing this great work. We hope to continue doing what God's blessed us to do. And as I said in the video, if all of us can continue to help as many young people, let it burn. Thank you.
I have to say, Martin looks over the moon. I'm not sure if it's the prize or if somebody landed on the moon. Now, let's take a look at the company finalist for the Conscious Companies Awards 2024.
Our economy has to work. Our social sector has to work. We have to get more people into work. And if we do all of that, there is an outcome, there is a measurement for us to have a successful South Africa, for my granddaughter to grow up in our country successfully and integrated into our bigger community.
Sometimes, you know, I need to tell you this, and it still goes with my strong belief. Sometimes we have impact on people that we don't even realize. You know, sometimes you look at somebody and that look has made an impact at a certain time on them, and that this person may be thinking about it in 10 years' time, how you looked at them. And a typical example of that is that's why I'm always conscious and I always try to be nice with everybody.
I see people with character, people with values, people with tenacity, people with grit. And as you start to recognize that, you realize that we have got so much potential to move forward as a society, as a country. If all of us in the sphere where we've got influence, small as it may be, do the correct thing, I would definitely define that as being conscious about the impact that you can make.
Whether it's within business, whether it's in conversation, I need to leave them empowered. So that's my mission, is to make an impact in the world, and also just use whatever talent I have, whatever network I have, anything that I have, to build bridges for eternal returns. That's my mission. My purpose here is to just be and love and be loved. I know it sounds simple, but there's a lot of work that goes into that.
From the moment we created the company and we were clear on our purpose, things happen that I can't explain. And I think it's being open to understanding that we don't control everything. And the only thing that we can do is to just stay connected and just allow the universe to know where we want to go and we want to try to achieve.
I just tell my brain, okay, brain, now you've got to handle this. And then my brain must go find the answer. But I think in a way we're all connected, so we are all, I guess, to use the language like a quantum computer, we can tap into the different intelligence out there. So there isn't anything that we can't know. If we're quiet enough in our mind to be able to really tap into that common denominator.
This has really been tough. As part of the judging panel, I'm not on the judging panel, but when they sat, it was a very robust discussion. So we decided that the recipient of the Conscious Companies Awards, so this year, is Deborah Walliser from God Produce. She's the second recipient. And now for the moment we've all been waiting for. The winner of the Conscious Companies Awards 2024 is Richard Firth from MIP Holdings. Unfortunately, Richard is in the US at the moment, so to receive the award is Mary Breed, one of his executives.
Come on, everybody. Let's give another round of applause. I want to say congratulations to the class of 2024. Welcome to an incredible alum. We wish you a magical journey ahead. Once again, I would like to thank everyone for joining us. Enjoy the rest of the evening with some coffee and desserts. We'll see you next year at the Conscious Companies Awards 2025. Let's hear it one more time for the wonderful singing surgeon.
I'm sorry, Brenda asked. Who can say no to Brenda? I promise this is the last.
Guarda fuori già mattina, questo intorno c'è ricorderà. Alzati in fretta e vai, c'è chi credente non ti arrendere. Once in every life there comes a time we walk out all alone and into the night. The moment won't last, but then we remember it again when we close our eyes, like stars across the sky. Potrà vincere, tu dovrai vincere. We were born to shine, all of us here because we believe. Guardi averti non voltarti mai, accarezza son i sogni tuoi, la tua speranza e toi, verso il giorno che verrà, e un traguardo like stars across the sky. E per vincere, tu dovrai vincere. We were born to shine, all of us here because we believe. Non arrenderti, qualcuno è con te. Like stars across the sky, we were born to shine, e per vincere dovrai vincere. All of us here because we
Was that not wonderful? Thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight, and see you next year.